It's been a rough road for Street Fighter V over the past 9 months. The game's initial launch did not have the content casual fans were looking for, causing a huge depression of sales, while Street Fighter V did relatively well amongst the tournament scene like EVO and its own Capcom Cup. However, even with the inclusion of multiple characters and a story mode post-launch that has never been in a Street Fighter game before, the game has failed to capture fans once again. In fact, Street Fighter V has been unable to sell 100,000 copies since its initial launch, regardless of brand new characters, story mode, or any other adjustments they made to the game. Now, this is going to be a personal and very opinionated video, as I'm going to be discussing the top 5 things I want to see changed in Street Fighter V for the next upcoming DLC season. I put the most time into Street Fighter V during its beta sessions. It had multiple betas leading up to its launch, and I found out through all the archive footage I had that I've played the game 3 times as much during the betas as I had since its post-release. There was just something about the game's combos and overall mechanics of you fighting against another person that didn't capture me like it's done with a few other fighting games. When there was new content like a new character, I would have no issues making a video, but I really didn't have interest in coming back and learning those characters to a higher degree. We did do that one week where we tried to get to Platinum, and we did, and that was essentially the last time I really played the game, and that was a couple months ago at this point. And this overall mentality isn't just coming from myself. There's been a lot of people, whether or not they are incredibly hardcore, guys that go to tournaments, and people that just want to jump in and play a fighting game and go into ranked every once in a while. There has been this overall waning interest in Street Fighter V over the past few months, and I think this is exactly why this is a perfect opportunity, because Capcom is already tackling one thing that has desperately been missing from this game, and it's Akuma. This was actually going to be one of my top picks for the top 5 things I want to see changed in Street Fighter V going into Season 2, and luckily they already did it. Whether or not he's going to be included as a Season 2 character, that's when Season 2 begins, or if he's just something that they were planning a bit early on when they found out that the sales of the game were not doing very good. Akuma's very popular, and I assume that this is going to do good things for the game if he is fun to play. But let's talk about the other things. These changes that I am requesting or would love to see changed are not things that are going to be based on the initial mechanics of the game or specific modes. It's going to be a mix of everything. So with that said, my top 5 changes for Street Fighter V begin now with anti-air jabs. This is a hot topic amongst a lot of characters in this game and a lot of community members that are playing this game at a competitive level. Anti-air jabs have an issue in Street Fighter V with the majority of characters, or anti-air shorts with Chun-Li. Essentially, you have one of the fastest moves a character can do, beating someone else's attack on jump-in, which is actually a heavy attack most of the time. But as you hit them out of the air with this jab or this standing short, you essentially recover so quick that you can cause a 50-50 mix-up, dashing underneath or staying on one side or staying right underneath them. Jumping heavies get beat straight out by light standing attacks. However, because this has been so prevalent, there has been multiple strategies around countering anti-air lights like Ken's jumping Tatsu Hurricane Kick or Vega jumping in with an air grab. Essentially, anti-airs are supposed to be something that's kind of difficult to pull off in terms of the character motion. A Shoryuken motion is one of the more difficult short moves that you have to do in Street Fighter games. So by doing that, a natural Shoryuken means you got the reward for having the execution to react fast enough. But with an anti-air jab, you just simply pressed one button. Crouching heavy punch and other moves have been notoriously anti-airs in plenty of Street Fighter games before. However, these don't have the startup and recovery frames of a short or a jab, which is so damn fast that it just doesn't make any sense. I would love to see this change, but it's not going to be a simple change, as some characters heavily rely on anti-air jabs and really don't have many anti-air tools to deal with the rest of the cast and their jump-ins. This will have to be a smart change. They'll have to adjust many characters, and right now I think it's something that a lot of people would actually like. Number 4 goes to something plaguing Street Fighter V for quite some time, and it's the inherent frame delay the game has. We all know the 8-frame delay meme that Street Fighter V has essentially crafted through its launch, but that has been adjusted. It's been dropped to around 6.5 frames, but this is still over a frame higher than many other fighting games that are in the 3D genre. Street Fighter V, of course, is a 2D game, but it has 3D models, and most fighting games of this kind take about 5 frames to initially have their games work. It's great to see that Capcom has been working on this, and they've already adjusted it for the PlayStation 4 version and the PC version, but I would like to see it adjusted even more because it just feels weird to have a game perform slower than all the other ones that have existed in the past. The third spot goes to something that I actually had been recommending since I first played Street Fighter V at E3 2015. This was the first time the game was publicly available, and when they were going over the mechanics and talking about the game and we were investigating and looking for stuff, we were finding combos to be easier, but the kind of weird thing was that, is this all you do? The V-trigger mechanic and the V-skill mechanic have proved to be kind of interesting for some characters and ridiculously uninspired for others. Ken gets a toe tap, Chun-Li can jump, Karen and Ibuki do pretty much the same thing. The V-skill and V-trigger system I think could be extremely cool, but right now it just isn't that interesting. I made a suggestion very early on to the Capcom guys that I feel this game needs multiple V-triggers and multiple V-skills selectable for each one of the characters. Having 3 would be absolutely amazing because it reminds me of the groove system in some older Capcom games, allowing you to pick and choose based on your playstyle how you want your V-trigger and V-skill to actually work. And right now, since there's only 1 per character, it is very limited what you can do. While some characters' V-triggers and V-skills are absolutely amazing, a whole bunch of them are very uninspired and not really that much fun to do. I love the V-trigger system, but I would love to see V-trigger really change the tide of battle, because right now, for a lot of characters, it's mostly just used as a cancel. More V-triggers, more V-skills, as well as more supers, which was a mainstay from the Street Fighter 3 games, as well as Street Fighter 4. The second spot goes to something that I find to be really important, and Street Fighter 5 has a huge issue with this, and it's the matchmaking speed. The time that you spend in fighting games looking at a menu, selecting your characters, or doing anything of the sort in between matches is what you want to avoid the most. It's a fighting game, not a menu manager, and currently Street Fighter V has you staring at a whole bunch of menus for way too damn long. There has been other games in this genre that have actually settled this and have made it work extremely good. And I'd like to give a huge shout out to Pokken Tournament, which has some of the fastest matchmaking I had ever seen in a fighting game. I know they run off different engines, they are different games, but right now the overall time you're spent waiting for matches and essentially looking at menu screens takes so damn long in Street Fighter V that it actually is a problem. Now, the number one thing, I'm sure all of you guys have seen this one coming because it has been the most requested change to Street Fighter V since the game's initial launch, and it's still the thing that is missing: a proper arcade mode. We do have these story mode segments which have very brief story cutscenes, but they're one round and you fly through them in what feels like only a couple minutes. A proper arcade mode ladder has always been a standard for fighting games, and for some reason Street Fighter V just did not include this. The thing is, I don't want it to be just a base arcade mode where you fly through 8 characters and then eventually get to like Bison or something like that. That's about the laziest way you could go about doing this. Right now, they have a perfect opportunity going into Season 2 to add a really kick-ass arcade mode. What I would love to see in the future of Street Fighter V is an arcade mode that acts similar to other arcade modes, introduces the story of the characters, and then by the end, there is multiple chances to get secret fights. Sure, you could get Bison, but if you get a certain amount of points and end the matches with a certain amount of supers, just like Street Fighter 4, maybe you would fight Shin Bison. And hey, there already is a Shin Bison costume in the game. This would work perfectly. You'd barely even have to change the character's moves, maybe just change the color of some effects, and just make them super powerful or super fast. You don't have to balance fighting game bosses. That's the whole point of them. They're cheap, and you need to be surprised by what they do when you get to the end. I get it, Street Fighter V is an esports competitive video game, but it is still a video game, so it needs to have that element that you can just sit down, pick it up, go through an arcade mode, and get something cool and surprising at the end. And right now, they have an amazing opportunity. Outside of the thing I just mentioned, Akuma is on the way, so you can even have Akuma as a secret fight. And if they want to make people really happy, you could get to this Akuma, have him have a selectable costume of some kind, and you can only get that costume by reaching this Akuma and beating him. You give people an incentive for actually getting to there. You don't keep the characters behind a locked wall like they were in early Street Fighter 4 games, but you can get something cool, something to show that you did do this, and you can wear the costume on your own character just to show that fact. Can Street Fighter V even bring back its casual audience? Right now, its competitive audience is absolutely there. The Capcom Pro Tournament has a whole bunch of entrants, but I feel this game needs to do something drastic right now. The most drastic thing, and we made a video about this before, which I got quite a bit of flack about, was switching Street Fighter V to a free-to-play environment or something in those regards. Changing it so that people can get easier access to this game. Because right now, I think the plan for Street Fighter V was to sell it at its full $60 price for a very long time, but that's not happening anytime soon because Street Fighter V has been dramatically dropped in price every single place it is because they can't get rid of the copies they have. So you find it on sale for $15 on Amazon, or even the brand new copy is $30 at GameStop. This game can be a lot of fun to play, it just needs the proper components to make it a really fun fighting game, and I think things like overall V-trigger adjustments with new supers, with more V-skills, adding a fun, engaging arcade mode that gives you multiple options as well as bosses to give you rewards at the end, as well as changes to weird anti-air jab situations that have not been present in any other Street Fighter game, and essentially only rewards a few characters that have access to this, there is a chance that this game could be compelling enough for some people in the future. They will never be able to get rid of the stigma that this game caused at its launch, and in my opinion, as much as it pains some very hardcore Capcom fans, which heck is included in myself, I think this is a very good thing for the future of Capcom fighting games. Is it going to result for a whole bunch of fighting games to show up very soon? Absolutely not, but right now Capcom has a very clear idea that the most popular franchise of fighting games in the world not meeting any of its sales-based expectations and is still not even selling, then maybe the future Capcom fighting games that do come out will not have this problem and be even more refined and polished in every single way that Street Fighter V missed out on. And that's it. Essentially, to sum everything up, I really want to like Street Fighter V, and Akuma is the one thing that gives me a glimmer of hope in the future of this game. I think he could be a lot of fun. I want to talk about that in another video about what they could do to Akuma to make him ridiculously fun. But right now, I'd prefer to wait because there's a lot of other extremely fun fighting games out there that I just want to put some time into. As always, dudes, thank you a ton for watching. I'll be back with more updates to Street Fighter V, new characters, and a full week of showing up for the latest character, Akuma, which should be maybe sometime before the end of the year. Take care, dudes, and I'll see you next time.